Hello and welcome back to the Anfield Edition podcast. My name is Owen and joining me today we have Ty, so say hello Ty.
Hi lads.
And we also have Inverter, so say hello mate.
Hi everyone.
These podcasts are released twice a week on Fridays and Mondays, so follow at Anfield Edition to be notified when these go live. Today we are looking ahead to a huge game against Man City in what could potentially prove if we have title challenging credentials. Past encounters have proved to be very entertaining, and with us winning 4 of the last 6-0 competitions, usually packed with goals given both teams attacking prowess. How do you see this one going, Ty?
Same as usual really. It's normally an open game in it against Man City. I think both teams will be good going forward, but both suspect at the back. Although, saying that, just read a stat now, we've had 6 clean sheets in the last 7, which is a bit unbelievable. But yeah, I still think there'll be plenty of goals in the game. I'm either going to go for a high scoring win, like a 3-2, or maybe like a 2-2 draw. But obviously, my predictions haven't been great this season so far. I've only had the one.
You're doing better than the rest of us. I was going to say, Inverter, what do you think going into this one? Obviously, City haven't had the best run, or the run they almost expected given the expenditure they've put in. So, what are you seeing like going forward into this game?
Are we going on to the next question now? Yeah.
Nah, it's just like thinking more or less, where do you see the game? Do you reckon, like Ty said, high scoring, sort of a draw?
Yeah, it's always high scoring against City, isn't it? Both very attacking teams, got the quality going forward. Not so much the same in the defensive side and so on. I know City have spent a lot of money on the fullbacks, but again, Mendy, Kyle Walker, both very offensive fullbacks. And John Stone's not sure that he'll be playing. He's likely to be playing, but with Company's injury allegedly, so yeah, he'll add more attacking threat to the defence that is already really attacking. So we'll definitely score a few goals, I think, and it's just down to Lovren's composure really. Comes to us.
It'll be be interesting to see really. Obviously, we know how attacking their fullbacks are with Danilo, Kyle Walker, Mendy, whoever plays there. They normally play quite high up, but knowing that they're coming up against the likes of Mane's and Salah's pace, it'll be interesting to see if they do sit a little deeper than usual.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of pace is going to be out wide in this game. You've got to think it's going to be a game just dominated on the flanks, isn't it? Most games you watch nowadays in the Premier League is going all through the centre, but with City and Liverpool, it's two teams that really do use their wide positions more than anyone else in the league.
Yeah.
Given the fullback City had, like you said, the pace they've got there with Walker and Mendy now, and the crossing ability on both of them, it's going to be one of those games where you just see the ball constantly pumped out wide, I reckon. Salah and Mane obviously are our biggest threats as well. That's the way I see the game going. It's going to be pace versus pace, really.
100%. It's going to be a fair few races in there.
Yeah,
that's what I would have thought with Arsenal, Bellerin and Oxlade-Chamberlain obviously on the wing backs, and obviously we exploited them quite easily, so it'll be obviously that's probably a calibre lower down than Mendy and Walker, but we'll see. Maybe it's too early to anticipate now.
I was going to say, speaking of Oxlade-Chamberlain, now he's registered to play, do you reckon he would maybe get a cameo on the on Saturday?
Cameo, yeah, but I don't see him starting.
Yeah, he won't start, but off
obviously
the bench,
got that comparison
possibly.
with Robertson.
Yeah.
He's only played one game. Just got to sort of ease the players in. Obviously, I think he's only came into training this morning, so
if he does go on, it'll be interesting to see where he actually plays, because obviously we know he wants to play centre midfield, but it'll be interesting to see if he comes on to replace pace for pace if we need it, if players start getting tired, or whether it is going to be a like for like if he tries to go in for Wijnaldum or Henderson, someone like that.
One of Klopp's standard substitutions seems to be the Salah or Mane, doesn't it? Around 70th minute, one of them gets brought off because they're tired. That's the place I see Oxlade-Chamberlain fitting in, given, we've lost Ojo and Kent, we've loaned them out. Woodburn might be a shout, actually, coming off the bench as well. Because one of those wingers, either Mane or Salah, is going to be replaced at some point in the game, so whether it's Woodburn or Chamberlain, in my opinion.
Sturridge as well comes into play, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Potentially pushing one of them out wide and Sturridge up top. Or Sturridge has played on the wings before, so I think he's another option. And I saw today some sort of report that Woodburn's been promised some form of minutes even in the league this season, which explains all the other loans, and maybe he's got a huge role to play off the bench, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. definitely. I mean, when you look at the youngsters from the fans' point of view, we only see glimpses of them. There's maybe something that Klopp's identified, in training, and the backroom staff also maybe seen it, that Woodburn does have more potential than Ojo and Kent, at least for this season. And maybe that's something they've identified. Obviously, we've all seen his goal that he scored for Wales in the week, was an absolute cracker, and he got the assist as well in the second game. So it's something there you pick out, and you think that maybe he will actually feature, like you said, in the league this season. Despite I remember writing something before the season started saying he'll probably get loaned out, but no, that's not the case, and I think he probably could feature the weekend. If depends really if Coutinho gets brought in as well.
Yeah, well, one thing it definitely does is obviously improves our bench now, doesn't it? We've got a bit of pace on there, we've got a bit of trickery on there now with Ox and Sturridge and so on to bring off. So it was what we mentioned on before. A couple more match winners maybe, or just something different if we're lacking creativity.
Yeah. I think the depth's actually quite surprising now that we list off the players we could bring off the bench. Obviously, that could change at any moment given injuries, especially given Sturridge's track record. Yeah. But it's actually a surprising, thing to see the depth we've got off the bench there. It's not, like you said, it's not the match winners necessarily, but there's still players there that can do a job for us, isn't there, Ty?
Yeah, and like I said, it's just rather than having a bench full of 18-year-olds again, like we did quite a lot of times last year, definitely strengthens it. I don't think we're at the calibre of your Chelseas and your Uniteds and City, but it's definitely an improvement.
Mm-hmm. I mean, City have been hit or miss so far this season. They've not had the blistering start that many expected. They were backed for the title almost unanimously by pundits and fans alike. They were held to the 97th minute against Bournemouth, and they got a late winner there. Sterling obviously getting the goal to give them the 2-1 win. And they weren't actually great in that game. I did watch a part of that match, and they did seem slow to build up. Obviously, City under Guardiola have become quite a fast-paced team, passing the ball, and also with their players they have got a lot of pace, but it seems slow against Bournemouth, a bit lethargic. They've been disappointing, haven't they, Inverter, so far this season, given the amount of money they've spent, surely?
Yeah, I agree to an extent, but first of all, let's say it is all a bit premature to say such things at the moment, but nevertheless I'll go through what I've got. And overall, yeah, you could say they've been underwhelming whilst watching them actually play, scraping 4 points in the last two games against Bournemouth and Everton, thanks to Sterling's 2 goals, and he was thankfully out for our tie with the red card. Yeah. Maybe not so thankfully because he never plays well against us, but and a rather convincing win against Brighton in the first game week, in which they had 78% possession and 14 goal scoring opportunities. So it's almost similar to our season to an extent, with the one dominating win against Arsenal, in which they had no shots on target at all, and a slightly unconvincing draw against Watford, in which they got the late winner, and our late winner against Palace from Mane, again moderately lucky despite plenty of chances missed. We had 72% possession, 21 goal scoring chances in that game.
Someone's done their research this week, haven't they?
Yeah, I told you. Put it up on the chat, didn't I?
I'm liking this. He's brought his A game. He's brought his A game. This is unreal.
Stat man. Inverted stat man.
Like you with it in the last podcast with your transfer statistics.
Yeah,
even Indigo gave you a little shout out for that.
Brought out that competitive edge now, haven't I?
Yeah,
We've got like a game of 1-up going on here. We've got Ty whacking out net spend last week. We've got Emre with all the results from every Premier League fixture ever played this week. It's unreal. I was going to say, you touched on Sterling obviously not being available for this next game. It's just made me think back to when Flanagan snapped him in half,
and Henderson's approval after that.
That's what I was thinking back to. As soon as you said that, I was thinking just Flanagan's just popped into my head. But yeah, like you said, City have spent 220 million in players bringing in. I think that's the largest ever spend, obviously bar PSG. This transfer was the largest spend at least in the Premier League, as Guardiola rejuvenated his squad. It hasn't warranted the results expected so far. I think they would have expected 3 from 3 given the fixtures they had, even though Everton can be a tricky side to play. The Liverpool game could end up being decisive in evaluating the progress of City under Guardiola, given the two clubs where they stand. both obviously trying to push for another title. It's been a while since City have picked that one up. So it's looking at that and you're thinking that this could actually be quite a pivotal game for Guardiola and for Klopp in a way, couldn't it, Ty?
Yeah, I don't know about kind of decisive because it's obviously, very early days in the season.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a fixture where you definitely want to get one up on arrival, isn't it? So with us, we know how good we are against the top 7. I think we've got 1 loss in 22 games.
That's mad.
That's 112 draw 9 inverter. There's a stat for you. We've already said we've got a clean sheet in 6 of 7. And also, since Klopp has come in, we haven't lost against Man City. That's 1-3 draw 1. But to be fair, the only difference is we've only won 1-8 at their ground. So decisive, I'm not sure. We have got a good record. It'll just be looking to see if we can follow that up now as we usually. You just don't want to lose. It's a game where you don't want to lose. I think looking at our points that we've had so far this season, 1-2, draw 1. If we had beat Watford and we'd drawn the Arsenal game, you would have said fair enough. But I think it's just the frustrating thing for us is that we've drawn the Watford game now.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you don't want to lose. You don't want to kind of start losing ground to a rival this early on. So for me, if being an away game, I would take a draw. I would take a draw, but at the same time, I know we do tend to play well against Man City, especially the last few games that we played against them. So yeah, I can't see us losing. I hope I haven't jinxed it, but I can't see us losing.
One thing that there is as well is obviously says he made a lot of signings as well, haven't he? So Guardiola's experimenting with the side. He always seems to have either Jesus or out of the two, Jesus or Aguero or Sané or Bernardo Silva on the bench. Also got Yaya as an option, and he's played 3-1-4-2 twice and 4-3-3 in the latest game. So I don't think Pep quite understands his tactics yet, which is good and bad because obviously we can't prepare for that. But then again, he's obviously been unconvincing this season so far, and obviously company as well. From what I've seen from City, he's been integral to the side, holding the defence together with the overall attacking nature the team's got. So obviously him being out will swing the tide in our favour hugely, I think.
Yeah, I wonder if Aguero's going to start against us though, because he tends to score against us, especially when they play at home. Yeah. I think I did read something actually before that saying that Aguero scored in all 5 of his league games against us at the Etihad. So might actually see him starting. I don't know whether it'll be ahead of Jesus, but they might find a way of getting him in the team.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of having Aguero so lethal against us, works in the opposite way almost with Coutinho, who's obviously come back into training this week. He's scored in 4 of his 6 games against City in his Liverpool career. It could be a surprise inclusion. I wouldn't say he would start, but I think he'd definitely be on the bench for us, as there's no real excuse for him anymore. Now that he's played for Brazil during that international break, there's no back pains, there's no illness that he can go. And it feels like we can't go a podcast now without talking about him. But do you see him, coming off the bench maybe, or is he going to be left out of the squad altogether, Ty?
Definitely on the bench, I think, in my opinion. If it was me, I know obviously there's a lot of clamour at the moment, especially when you have a look online and social media. A lot of people saying he's our most talented player, he needs to go straight back into the team. But I just think with the way he handled the whole situation, if he just kept his mouth shut, we knew he wanted to go to Barcelona, but the way he handled it, has lost him a lot of fans at the moment. It won't take long, obviously, to get him back on side if he starts performing well and puts one top bin against them. But for me, he'll come off the bench. I think to put him straight back into the team would be very, very harsh. Not even just from an attitude point of view, just the fact that we played so well against Arsenal. There's no one in that midfield who had a bad game. So I think it would be very harsh if you dropped any one of those midfield 3 for Coutinho at this point.
Even Wijnaldum inverter. Even Wijnaldum.
Yeah, I actually think the complete opposite, in my opinion. He has to play. We've decided to keep him, and we sort of kick on from here. Obviously, Klopp said that he comes back after the international break. The Brazilian physios have said that, and Coutinho's at 100% match fitness, and he got minutes during the international break, scoring more than getting an assist, I think so. And Coutinho's return almost coincides with Wijnaldum, as you said, who's overall been quite average this season, only really performing in the Arsenal game, in which he wasn't even a standout player, really, was he? Because everyone on the pitch was 7 out of 10, apart from Karius maybe. So, personally, I'd replace Wijnaldum with Coutinho, because obviously his attitude's been appalling and so on, but we can't kind of continue this agenda with him now that he is a Liverpool player for the next 6 months at least, or until January, sorry. So
yeah, ultimately he's our best player as well. Like, if you're going to leave your best player out of one of the biggest games of the season, doesn't really add up. I think obviously there's a lot of context to me saying that. But I would personally, I'd keep him on the bench. I think he can come on late on. It'd be very interesting to see how the fans react, I think, to him coming on. That's one thing I'm actually sort of waiting for. What do you think could happen, possibly, in Verta?
I think we're doing an apology, to be honest, like Suarez did after the whole Arsenal thing that he done.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, without an apology, it'll definitely be awkward him coming on, because I can see a few of the fans booing him, actually, which I wouldn't do personally, but our fan base is sort of notorious for that. Being at the ground, they do like to almost like boo certain players, even if they make a mistake. So I can't imagine what they do after this whole situation. But I think he knows where he stands, and I think an apology is coming before the game.
Do you think it will do?
Yeah, I think he has to, really, and just coming back into training and smiling for the cameras and nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be surprised if there's an apology, because there was a bit of an agenda being pushed one there, saying that it was the Barcelona camp leading everything, and they misled Coutinho and so on and so on. So with that kind of agenda, they're kind of like trying to pass the buck, trying to resolve Coutinho of any blame at all. But I don't know. I'll be surprised, knowing how Klopp is. Klopp would have been a little bit upset, and he knows how passionate the Liverpool fans are, and obviously we said just now a lot of Liverpool fans would have been upset about the whole situation as well. So I would actually be very surprised if Klopp was to put him straight back into the starting lineup. He seems very stubborn, and he's kind of one of those managers that once he gets a certain feeling, unless it is like you said, unless he does come out and apologise or kind of showed something of some substance, then I can't see him going straight into the first 11 for now, at least anyway. Would
you want an apology out of him, Ty? Just wondering.
Yeah, I think so. I just think that the timing of everything was horrendous. Don't get me wrong, a lot of it did come from the Barcelona side in terms of the timing of the bids that they made. It tended to be, the day before we played a game and so on and so on. So I think that was, underhanded by them. But at the same time, Coutinho was the one who put a signature to this transfer request and so on, the day before we kicked off our season. And he was the one who was kind of, I don't know who pushed the agenda of the back injury. It could have been the club to protect him in a way, but the fact that he went on international duty then and it all come out in public that it was to do with stress. He had a back injury because of stress. I think it's all bullshit, to be honest with you. So yeah,
exactly. There's all mixed reports, and so I think it's best for Coutinho to come out and sort of explain the situation from his point of view, because the media are taking advantage of the situation, making up all sorts of lies. And we had the whole Barcelona media, the Spanish media. We had the Liverpool ITKs all saying he's gone for good, and then obviously FSG stood by what they said initially. So I think the whole media at the moment is full of lies regarding the whole Coutinho situation, which is why he should come out. And I can't see him not coming out, really, despite everything, because it's only right for him to do that. At the end of the day, he's a Liverpool player now, whether he likes it or not. So
yeah.
Looking back at the Suarez situation as well, that public apology did do something towards repairing the relationship with the fans, and obviously that from once you put out the apology, from that point onwards, the way I see it, your football does the talking for you. If you go out there and actually give your all and actually go and give your best performances for the club, all's going to be forgotten anyway. And I think Suarez did that, didn't he? He scored 31 goals in one league campaign, which is ridiculous. Almost led us to a title win. And it's like, if Coutinho goes on and does that, then all's forgotten. From my point of view as well, I'm not going to care if he leaves at the end of the season, as long as he goes and gives our best, or his best for the club, and maybe pushes us on and wins some silverware. We all knew Coutinho was going to leave eventually, but it's just upsetting the timing of it as well that he did. That's what I think's irked a lot of fans, is a day before your league campaign. It unsettles the squad, and it unsettles the whole atmosphere and the whole media around Liverpool. Then they're speaking about Coutinho and not the game, and I think that's what probably got to the man. I think it would have got to Klopp as well, but I think it got to the fans the most, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact of not just how talented he is, but he is very well liked. He's always been he's not. You don't really hear his name in the media off the pitch. He's very quiet, very humble. He speaks very well about the fans and the city and so on. So I think it was just a bit of a blow to everyone to kind of see the way he went about it. Really, you wouldn't have expected it, and I just think it was a bit stupid because he knows how much he's loved by the fans. Like, not every footballer in our team has got a song about them and so on. So, a lot of players who come to Liverpool, that's a massive highlight for them. Being recognised by the fans to that extent is huge. And I just think he didn't really think about, I know he's young, I know he's being pushed by the Barcelona camp, but at the same time, he's got a certain relationship with the fans, and it has kind of been tainted a bit. So I don't understand how he just didn't keep that in mind. If you've always got to think, what if I don't get this move, how I'm going to be perceived and how I need to act. And I think he does need to apologise, or at least put a worldie top bin to win us the game, and I'll forgive him straight away.
Yeah, looking at the team we might put out, it's expected that we'll see 3 changes from the side that beat Arsenal, at least from my perspective. Mignolet will come in for Carrier. I think that's a given. You'd all agree with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Trent Alexander-Arnold I could see coming in for Gomez. I think that's one's a bit more 50-50. And Robertson coming in for Moreno I could see as well, but that's also 50-50. I think the fullbacks would be a very interesting one. Obviously going up against Walker and Mendy, and then Bernardo Silva potentially as well on the right-hand side. And then like Sane or Sterling, obviously they'll have quite a job on their hands there if they double up and overlap. So it'll be interesting to see if he goes with Gomez or Moreno as opposed to Trent and Robertson. I think that would be, if we brought in Trent and Robertson though, that would be like the strongest side we fielded this season. Obviously, I think Robertson didn't play when Alexander-Arnold played, so that would actually be, I think, from my point of view, the strongest team we've put out. Or potentially could Klopp just go with the same side? We beat Arsenal 4-0. There's no need to change. You could, potentially argue. What do you think about what team do you expect to see coming out on Saturday?
I think the most interesting thing around the whole team selection is the fullback situation.
Yeah.
Obviously, if Trent Alexander-Arnold is fit to play, then you'd probably expect him to come back into the side. But going off Gomez's last performance, in which he obviously got the clean sheet, he got a great assist, and he also made that pivotal block as well a bit later on in the game, which could have swayed the momentum incredibly. So it'd be sort of unfair to drop him, but I also understand why he would drop him. And obviously, as you said, Mignolet should come back in, and Klopp actually set up for the game, and Mignolet is the first choice keeper, and that allegedly he was just resting. But we don't know whether that's true. Maybe he just saw how shaky Karius was and decided that he wasn't ready yet. And I'd actually stick with Moreno after another very convincing performance, I'd say, against Arsenal. Then potentially start Robertson against Sevilla, because Moreno doesn't tend to have the best of games against Sevilla in Europe, does he? So.
You've got to change that in this game.
Yeah.
Simply on pace as well. If you've got Kyle Walker down the flank, he's very, very quick, and Moreno's a lot quicker than Robertson, so I think he stays, not just because he played well against Arsenal, but I think, pace for pace in this game, you pointed out already, the flanks are going to be huge for both teams, and you've got to, as long as his positioning is, it'll have to be on point in this game, because Man City will exploit it, definitely in behind. Moreno starts, simply for speed.
Yeah, I think that's now what I'm sort of changing my mind on the whole Robertson thing now, thinking back to, Moreno was actually quite good against Palace, and he has been good all season for us. I think that will be something then that Klopp sticks with, but I do expect Trent and Mignolet to come in. We've already spoke about Coutinho potentially also being involved as well, and Chamberlain. I think it'll be like, there's obviously the starting 11's a given. I think the substitutions will be interesting. It'll be whether Klopp chooses to try and see out the game, or go for a killer blow late on. We really have no idea the way that the game's going to swing at this point, do we?
It's all dependent on how the game's panning out at that very moment in time. Obviously, if we're ahead, he'll probably bring on Gurich, which he's done before, and in place of one of the wingers to sort of give us that defensive support that we lack sometimes. And almost play 2 DMs and just sort of focus on the defending side. But if we need the goal, I can see Oxlade Chamberlain coming on. Whether that's centre mid or on the flanks, I'm not quite sure. Again, we'd have to see in the game, see who's tired, see who seems to have more energy in them to sort of push that counter attack, which I think will be very important against City's 3 at the back.
Yeah, it's very situational, and it's hard to sort of assess that in advance to the game actually being played. Obviously, it's the midday kick-off as well, which would be an interesting one. I think we've got a tendency to actually play better almost on the midday games, at least from my like from memory really, we have always seemed to turn up, and remember a few like demolitions of the big teams have come at that time as well. There was an Arsenal game a few years back where it was midday kickoff, and I think it was the 5-1. I think that was midday.
I was there for that
exactly.
game.
Yeah, so like that could sway it in our favour. The small difference there. Is there anything else you two wanted to add? Before we round this one off.
Just be interesting to see if both teams actually set up as they usually do. Obviously, we're both quite attacking sides. We use the counter attack really well, but I just think we know how much pace each of the teams got. So it'd be interesting to see if both or one of actually might play a little bit more defensive minded. Can't see it, but they're both going to try and get one up on the other. They're very technical, tactical managers. So. Yeah, wouldn't put it past at least Guardiola maybe trying to set up a little different, try and catch Liverpool off. But yeah, we'll soon find out.
Has Klopp ever played defensively out of interest? I can't recall him playing defensively against the top six, which is why we always score so many goals. Maybe against United.
Because United, they did. We've got a tendency to go counter-attacking, haven't we? And it's whether you see that as defensive or still like displaying attacking intent. I think we're never going to be a team that just sits there and tries to soak up the pressure, because that's not something we could see it in the Champions League face off maybe against like a Barcelona, Real Madrid, one of the big sides, but we're always so lethal on the counter. It just seems like a waste not to do it. I think Klopp's going to anticipate Guardiola coming out of the blocks and just trying to put a lot of pressure on the Liverpool defence, and I think he will set up very counter-attacking in that opening half, and I reckon past that we might expand out a bit more, try and finish the game off potentially. That's what I'm hoping for at least, but there's a tendency there to go counter-attacking, I think, away from home, especially against City and especially against Guardiola.
Yeah, I think he'll be very pressing orientated, because they've got all these number 10s, haven't they, who are used to all this space, and then all of a sudden they come up against Liverpool, just endless press, so I can see a few errors happening in the midfield, and hopefully we capitalise from them. What were you saying to that?
As a midfield three, what are you thinking about Henderson? Because I don't think, in my opinion, he hasn't had the best starts this season at all. I think if anyone's in danger, I know obviously how well he is the best player in there, keeping the play ticking over and so on. But in my opinion, I think out of all three of them, I know Emre's going to say Wijnaldum, but I think Hendo is in danger of possibly losing his place in that, because he looks half a yard slower since he's come back into that team as well, and is very, very.
That would happen if Chan went into the DM role. Maybe Klopp doesn't want to start Ox straight away or start Coutinho straight away. So I think in that scenario we can't have Henderson, Chan, and then Coutinho. I think he just. But then again, Henderson's the captain, so I can't see that happening, because Henderson's almost got that right to start due to the captaincy, I think. And we've seen that happen quite a lot when he's fit. He plays. He doesn't really get dropped, does he? So
he's the most interesting natural, to see. Number 6 as well. Like you said, recycling possession. Spraying the balls out wide. He is the most natural player for that DM role. He's not the toughest tackler, but that is the main asset there, is the fact he can recycle possession, and he does keep the ball well, and the play ticking over. And I think if you try and move Emre Can into that role, he won't be as effective. We've seen this season he's so much better just bombing forward.
Yeah.
And just charging at defences. That's where you want him, in that box-to-box role. You don't want to limit Emre Can. We see at the start of his Liverpool career when he got put at centre-back, and you think you don't really want to limit him that much. You want to allow him to go forward and allow him to press, but also, break the lines, like you said. That's his main asset, and I wouldn't see... Potentially he could, down the line, be moved, but not for this game. Certainly not. He won't be pushed back into a number 6 role. I just can't see that happening.
Yeah, I think the Hoffenheim game highlighted his quality in the box-to-box role. He sort of done whatever he wanted at times, just a little 1-2, and we've got an open goal all of a sudden. So I think he's capable of that quality pass, that over the top ball that no one else can see on the pitch, and all of a sudden we're through on goal. But I think last season as well, he played DM for a few months, didn't he? In the number 6 role when Henderson was injured with that 3-month injury, and. I don't know about you two, but he really impressed me in that role. But it just comes back to him being the best in the centre mid box-to-box role. And obviously, if Henderson sort of caters for that, so he can play in the DM, which allows Chan to play in this role.
Yeah, they've got to get that contract sorted out, I think.
God, yeah. That's got to be top of their priorities now, surely. With Naby Keita coming in, I think that's part of the reason Emre Can sort of doubting his Liverpool future, and he's also thinking that if I'm going to move to a big club, it's going to be now. Yeah. The release clause thing obviously would be quite an interesting thing to talk about. I don't see why, we wouldn't just accept, screw it, because we've seen what happens to Arsenal. Like, what they're doing right now. They've got Ozil and Sanchez both running out, potentially leaving on a free. I think just putting a release clause, I don't know what you two think about it. You probably agree with me, I think, but...
Yeah, you've got to put in a release clause, but we don't know what the actual argument is. I can't see it being as simple as, I want a release clause, and we're saying no. There's got to be an amount. Liverpool must have an amount in mind and saying, right, yeah, this is going to be a release clause, and obviously Chan's not going to be very happy with it. So...
I think it's two things. It'll be the sum of the release clause, first of all. Chan will want a realistic one, won't he? He won't just want a 60 million one. He'll want one that Juventus could potentially activate that.
And we know there's not loads of money in Italian football either.
Yeah, exactly. And it could be something about the minutes also. Maybe he wants an assurance, knowing that Kate is coming in, as Coutinho on the side, Oxlade-Chamberlain now, Henderson, Wijnaldum, Lallana. There's just so much competition. He probably wants to be guaranteed that he will get a certain amount of minutes that maybe Juventus are offering him. Because I saw the other day that Khedira is meant to be leaving in the summer, so he sort of just slots straight into their side, doesn't he, and starts every game like Juventus. So I think it is about the minute assurance as well as the release clause.
Yeah, I think that's potentially what it is. I think it'll be very interesting to see where Kaitas fits into the side then, if we do hang on to Can as well. I think naturally I think he would be rotated with Coutinho, though. That's the only thing, because of the way they both sort of... Kai's not a playmaker, don't get me wrong, but the way he is much more attacking minded, you wouldn't be able to maybe necessitate for two of them, two very attacking minded midfielders. I don't know if you'd be able to. What do you think on that, Ty?
I think he's more actually comparable to Emre Can, to be honest with you. He is more box to box because he does recycle a lot of possession. We touched on it, didn't we, in the last podcast, where we said he's one of we
have the stats, don't we?
Yeah, one of the most recoveries in the league and blah blah blah. So yeah, in terms of, I don't think he's as attacking as Coutinho. We can see the way he dribbles like him, glides past players in a very similar way. But
then Emre Can does a similar job, doesn't he?
Yeah, he also offers himself a lot. Deep. He will come deep if need be, Keita, for the ball. So I think he's probably a more of a replacement for Emre Can, to be honest with you. So
I can't see him coming to Liverpool and not starting every game, to be honest, especially for 51 million, which is our transfer record. He starts every game, doesn't he, really? And as Ty said, I think him and Coutinho can actually play in the same midfield, as long as we've got a DM behind them, because them two, accompanied by Oxlade-Chamberlain or Lallana or whatever, that's two attacking, so which is why we need that DM. But I think Klopp will facilitate.
Are you suggesting bring in someone instead of Henderson when you say proper DM, more defensive, completely defensive, whereas Henderson, is not a natural defender, I would say.
Ideally, Ideally, because I'd love to have someone like Nzonzi coming in from Sevilla.
Someone a little bit more athletic.
Yeah, but Henderson's again, he's got that captaincy about him, hasn't he? That almost seems that he can't be dropping. Yeah, he's got them qualities as well. Learn from the best from Gerrard, didn't he, for a season, a few seasons when he was getting prepared for the captain and all the responsibilities that come with that on all these LFC TV videos, especially with Ox coming in. You can sort of see his leadership. He's showing the player around. He's meeting players alongside with him. So I think he's a good captain, definitely, which is why he might retain his position at the club due to them qualities that maybe not so many other players have. Especially if you had Nzonzi coming in, who's French. Obviously, he can't dictate a game verbally as Henderson can. With sort of that English call we seem to have to the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finally, let's just get a prediction for the Man City game from both of you. I'm going for 1-1. I think there's not going to be a lot to split the sides because both are quite good attacking. Defensively, obviously, I think 0-0 is off the cards immediately, given both teams' defences and the pace going forward as well. So I'm going to go with 1-1. Ty, let's hear from you first.
I'll go 2-2.
Inverter?
I'll go 2-0 to Liverpool. A surprising good defensive performance from us.
Was it 7 in 8 last Premier League games we've had clean sheets?
6 and 7.
Close enough. Right, so that's all we have time for today, but we'll be back on Monday to look ahead to the Sevilla game that we've got on Wednesday. Big, return to the Champions League, of course. So where can the listeners find you off the podcast, lads? We'll start with you, Ty.
Ty_talks LFC, and my personal one, Tyrone_PT.
Is that everything ties then in Aussie like that? Okay, AtomVertibility is my Twitter.
So be sure to give them a follow. Once again, follow at Anfield Edition on updates for when the podcast goes live. Pleasure talking to you, lads, as always. And that is, done. That is done. So say goodbye, Ty.
Ciao, guys.
And bye, Bert.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
It's bye from me as well.